Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm not gonna start by saying it's been such a long time since I last posted a video, because we all know it's been pretty much a year. As you can see, this video is gonna be a little different. I wanted the focus to be on what I am talking about. I think this is the first time I actually made notes for a video. Like, you see, I have notes. I think I should start off by explaining why I've been gone for so long. I've always been very vague with the reasons behind my disappearing and showing up again. And I feel like when you have a social media presence, it's very important to be transparent. And I want my channel to be a reflection of me, and I don't want it to just focus on makeup. Don't get me wrong, I love makeup and that's why I started my channel. But I also want to be able to be honest with you guys and not just pretend like life has been busy and that's it. It also took me a long time to actually sit down and film this video because I didn't know how to start. I didn't know how to talk about it. I've become very open about dealing with depression. If you follow me on social media, if you follow me on my Instagram, I have talked about wanting to do a YouTube video where I talk about my journey with depression. And you know, right now I'm in a very good space, but I also want to talk about when I wasn't in a good space. So let me dig into my notes because I have made little points. One of the most important things when you're a social media person, I wouldn't call myself an influencer because I feel like that's a huge word. I am not an influencer. I just have a platform and I want to use it to speak on subjects that matter. When it comes to social media, we're really good at putting out a front. We all have this mask on because what you show on social media is what you want people to see. And it's not necessarily always what is real, because no one wants to watch someone going through depression on social media. Like, that would bring you down. And I've always tried to keep my platform a positive space for everyone. And sometimes you feel like you are putting yourself out there and you're burdening other people with your problems by sharing too much. So I've been holding back, but there comes a point in your life where you're like, I have to speak on this, not only for myself, but also because I have such a huge platform and I should be able to tell my followers what it is like dealing with depression. Not for myself only, but also for you guys watching, because I'm sure there are a lot of young people dealing with depression. Especially being Somali and dealing with depression, not even just Somali, being a black person dealing with depression, being a woman dealing with depression, all those things kind of make it hard for you to talk about depression. I feel like one of the most important things that I want to talk about is the stigma surrounding mental health, especially in the Somali community. There is a spectrum of mental health, and the thing about the Somali community is that the spectrum only goes like two ways. You're either sane or you're insane. There is no in between. Depression is not really recognized in the Somali community. I feel like a lot of young people are trying to discuss these issues, and a lot of young people are trying to make the older generation understand what depression is. Most people in the Somali community view depression as just being sad, and it's really hard for them to place it in a box that they can understand. I've done a project on Somali mental health, and finding data in Denmark was super hard. A lot of data you can find in the States because it's talked about more, if that makes sense. For me, dealing with depression, I think one of the most important disclaimers is that it's not just sadness. When I was dealing with depression, it literally made me feel like I was a shell of myself. In the beginning, and you have to think about it like this. Honestly, I've been dealing with depression for around 4 or 5 years, but I didn't acknowledge it until maybe 2 years ago. That's when I kind of figured, hey, something is off. Also because it started to have a physical impact on me. It wasn't just mental. The thing about depression is everyone experiences depression differently. But for me personally, it made me want to isolate myself. It made it hard for me to do things like on a daily basis. Just to go to class was hard. Keeping up with my reading was super hard. And the more my depression progressed, I reached a point where it was really hard for me to understand the texts that I was reading in class. And, after going to therapy, I found out why. And it is an after effect of dealing with depression because it kind of alters your cognitive understanding and it makes it harder for you to remember stuff. So I already had bad memory as is, but I've never experienced that I could sit and read the same sentence over and over again and not understand it. Also because I was like, hello, I'm not stupid. I have finished my bachelor's. I must have finished it somehow. So it's not because I'm stupid, but there's something going on in my brain that isn't really, catching on. So one of the things that I experienced while dealing with depression was I was constantly sleepy. Like I was tired all the time. It didn't matter how many hours of sleep I got within a day, I was still tired. It was hard for me to get out of bed. I became slightly antisocial. All of the sudden, it was hard for me to just be around my friends, let alone other people. So the way I dealt with it was I just isolated myself because just having conversations with people would really have a toll on my mental state. I could be with my friends and then in my head I was thinking, I just want to go home. Like I just want to go home and be in silence. Like I don't want to be around any people. I don't want to listen to anyone talk. I barely want to listen to myself talk. The physicality of depression for me was not being able to get out of bed, not being able to live my everyday life the way I usually do. It was also hard for me to do the things that I love, makeup for example. It was hard for me to answer back to emails when people wanted to book me. It became a struggle just to sit down and record because my mental state was just not in a good place. I decided for myself, I was slowly taking breaks here and there. And I just decided I just need to take a break for me. Now, let's go back to the fact that I've been dealing with depression for 4 or 5 years, but the thing is that we are very, how do I explain this? Our culture kind of determines the way that we react to certain things. We've always, we've grown up with this mindset of being strong. You have to be strong, and as long as you have food in your fridge and you are clothed, you should be thankful. And it's not that you're not thankful. You are. Of course you're thankful. The thing is that because we are programmed to be strong and not let anything faze us, we just suppress it, which is what I did. For me, it was like, you can do this, push through like it's nothing. Just, you're stronger than your mind. You have to push, you have to get your degree, you have to make sure that you get the grades that you want. You have to make sure that your social media platform grows. I just kept pushing myself with every single thing in my life. And then you reach a point where you just have a breakdown and you're like, damn, I can't do this. Like, I need a break. And the best thing I did for me was I started going to therapy. And therapy was very tricky in the beginning because most of the times all we did was talk about feelings. Me personally, I have a hard time talking about feelings. It's a lot. It's a struggle for me to talk about feelings and emotions and be open about them. But the thing is, with depression, you have no control over your feelings. So all I was doing was crying all the time. And I was like, sometimes I would look at myself and I'd be like, stop! Why are you crying this much? Like, it made no sense. I could cry like this. Anyone could say a little thing to me and I'd be breaking down and crying. I could think about my life and then I would start crying. So when I went to therapy, the first sessions, all I did was cry. Like, I couldn't have a conversation about how I felt mentally without breaking down in tears. You don't understand how much you build up your emotions, and they keep building up and they keep building up. And then when you finally break down, you don't understand what toll that has on you physically. Every time I had a therapy session, I would literally get out of there with a splitting headache. I deal with migraines, and my migraines are always amplified by stress. So when I came out of therapy sessions, I would be done for. The therapist was really good at helping me deal with my emotions. And sometimes your therapist will tell you things that you don't want to hear, but they might be necessary for you. Like for me, my therapist taught me to set boundaries for everyone. It doesn't matter who it is, just set boundaries. Because I am the type of person who wants everyone. I literally am the type of person who wants everyone around her to be good, that I forgot to be good to myself. So I would just make sure everyone around me was okay. And in the midst of it all, I was just, crumbling. So I think that's one of the best things I got out of seeing a therapist. And also, I was very reluctant to just stop with my studies and take a break. Because I remember my therapist, that's one of the first things he said to me was, maybe you should consider taking a break from your study and just, focusing on doing things that make you happy and things that you feel like fulfill you, so that you don't have the stress of having to go to courses, reading up on different texts, analyzing, discussing, all the things that you have to do in a humanities studies basis. So it was hard for me to just be like, okay, I'm gonna take a break, because I was like, I don't have time. I don't have time to take a break. I am 30 years old. I cannot be taking a break. I need to finish this. I need to get my degree. I need to move on. I have places to go. I got people to see. I think last year was like when I got to the point of, okay, I need a break. You just reach a point where you're like, I can't do this. I need a break for myself. I need to do things that make me happy. I need to just focus on getting my mental health to a better state. Also, because when you're dealing with depression, sometimes it can be really hard imagining your life going in a direction where you're actually happy and where you feel like you're accomplishing something. Because depression it numbs you, but it also makes you feel all these things at once. Like, you feel like you have to do so much and you have to get out of this, but you just can't see it. You can't see a way out. And then you just get into a deeper and deeper hole. As you guys who follow me on Instagram have seen, I took a year off and all I did was basically work. I was working at a nursery for old people. Is it called a nursery? I don't know. But I took a year off, worked at a nursery, and the reason why I worked there was because I wanted a job that didn't have to do anything with what I was doing at school. I needed something different. And that also gave me the ability to just work make money, go travel. That was my goal for 2019. It was just work, work, travel, travel, do the things that you want to do, experience whatever you want to do, and, you know, just get out of this funk. It helped me overcome depression. I'm not gonna lie and say I don't have days where I'm like, everything sucks. I think it's naive to think that depression just disappears and then everything is good. But I kind of learned how to deal with it. I've kind of learned how to understand that some things are just out of my control and it is what it is. I've learned how to deal with my emotions. I'm trying. I'm still struggling with, you know, being open about emotions, but I do it. And I let myself feel every single emotion. It doesn't matter how draining it is. One of the best things was that I have my parents as my support system. I think like it was one of the things that I appreciate about my parents is that they never looked at depression as, you know, as something that doesn't exist. They know what depression is. They know what, they understand how important mental health is. So I am so thankful for my parents because they helped me through it. My mom was so patient with me because sometimes you're just frustrated with everything and you just don't want to talk to anyone. So my mom was a huge, huge support. Also, when I explained to her how I was feeling, and I told her I wanted to go see a therapist, she supported me. She said, you know what? If you feel like that's what you need to do for you, then that's what you need to do. The most important things when you're dealing with depression is support. And I got so much support from my parents. Specifically like my mom, she understood what depression is. And, you know, we talked about it, and she also encouraged me to go see a therapist because parents can only help us so much, but they are not professionals. Like they will understand you as parents and they will support you and they will help you as much as they can. They don't have the tools to dissect your depression because it is a process and you have to go through it and you have to figure out what it is that triggers your depression, and they don't have that. So I think that was one of the best things that I did for myself was go to therapy. I haven't done therapy for a very long time now, but I definitely want to go back because I feel like that's kind of what keeps me grounded, if that makes sense. But right now, honestly, I'm in such a good space. Alhamdulillah, I can only thank God for that. I am in a very good space. And also, I think I've learned how to handle my depression and I've learned how to deal with it. So one of the last things that I want to talk about is that I feel like this is something that we as a community need to learn how to be better to speak on. I am sure there are thousands of young people, even not even just young people, but you also like the older generation. I feel like they're probably dealing more with PTSD, and I also feel like some of them are dealing with depression, but because they don't have the understanding, because they don't have the knowledge, because they don't have the resources, and just the understanding that we might have, I think it's important that we talk about depression. I think it's important that we talk about mental health the same way we talk about physical health. Because as soon as there is a part of your physical being that is hurting, you go to the doctor. No questions asked. Like, no one is going to look at you sideways and be like, oh, your leg hurts, why are you going to the doctor? No one is going to do that. So I feel like we need to speak on mental health. We need to be better as a community to educate. We need to be better, not to just to educate others, but we need to educate ourselves and what mental health is and how important it is. Because if you don't have your mental health in check, that inhibits you from doing anything in life. We need to normalize speaking on mental health. we need to have these conversations, as hard as they might be, which is also why I'm sharing this with you guys, because I don't want you to think that, you know, everything is just it's just glitter and sparkles and happiness all the time. That's not how life works. But you also have to be able to distinguish between just having a day of sadness and actually dealing with depression. And I've also noticed a lot of young people are coming out speaking on dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, but I still feel like we have a very long way to go. And I just think that as human beings, there has always been a stigma surrounding mental health, but it's like other communities are like, they're getting with the program. They're like, oh, your mental health is important. You need to take care of that in order to function. So why is it that we as a Somali community can't do the same? We need to be better at, you know, breaking the taboo. We need to be better at being vocal about it. And we also need to be better at helping each other and not judging each other as much. There are people out here that you probably don't even know are dealing with mental health issues. But instead of actually trying to help them and trying to understand them and trying to be there as the community that we are, we just push them away and, you know, we distance ourselves from them. I think it's very important, which is why I'm gonna leave by asking you guys, have you dealt with depression, and what was your journey like? Did you get the help you needed, or are you dealing with depression and you have a hard time vocalizing it? Do some of the things that I've said resonate with you? Like, can you recognize some of the things that I went through when I was dealing with depression with your everyday life? This is an open forum for you guys. So if you've ever dealt with some kind of mental health issue, then I feel like it's important that you have someone to talk to. If you don't have anyone to talk to, just know that I'm always here. And if you've dealt with mental health issues, just know that you're not alone. You're literally not the only person in the world going through this. And I'm sure, I know for certain, there is going to be someone, if not a lot of you, who are going to watch this and be like, oh my God, like that's what I'm feeling right now, or I felt that and I know what depression feels like, and now I can actually put a word to what I was feeling. Also because back like when I first had symptoms of depression, it was really hard for me to attach a word to my symptoms. Like, it was hard for me to actually explain it to anyone unless they've dealt with it themselves, or if it was a professional that knew what depression was. Because I feel like even before I was dealing with depression, I heard about people dealing with depression, and I'd be like, okay, so you're sad? You're sad? So what does that mean? You're sad all the time? But it's not just sadness. It's way more complicated than that. Anyways, guys, I just want to leave you with this, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I'm slowly getting back into recording, and also I'm feeling way more like myself. I'm more happy than I have been in the longest. I just recently decided that I wanted to go back to school and finish my master's, which I'm excited for. I don't think I've been excited to go back to school for a very long time. I wasn't even excited when I was in school. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, I feel like I'm energized. I feel like I can do this. I don't want to blame myself too much if it takes longer than what I planned. I'm just giving myself some space to breathe and just do things one step at a time without pressuring myself. And I hope you guys will also give me that same space when it comes to uploading videos, because I know I've been terrible at uploading videos, but now you kind of know why. But I am slowly trying to get back to it. I'm slowly trying to be as active as I can and be as consistent as I can. And like I said, I don't want to do makeup videos all the time. So I am kind of trying to figure out a way to make my channel about makeup and beauty, but also to speak on topics like this. So if there's anything that you guys want to know, you can ask me down below. I could also use some suggestions on things that you want me to talk about. Like if you're Somali, or if you are a black person, if you are a woman that is Muslim, that is foreign, you know, if you are the other, which I see myself as the other, but if you are the other, and if you're some type of minority that deals with these kinds of issues, then give me suggestions and I might just speak on it on another video. But for now, guys, this was less nerve-wracking than I thought it would be, and it was actually, I feel like a weight has been lifted over my shoulders, and I feel like it was necessary for me to be transparent with you guys. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did sitting down and talking about this, even though it was kind of hard, but you know, we worked it out. I am good. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, leave them down below. If you have any questions, if you've experienced depression, or if you've experienced mental health close and personal, not only if you've experienced it, but if people in your family have experienced it, you know, just tell me your story and let's share and let's be open. That's it, you guys. I think the last thing to say is the usual: subscribe to my channel, you know, give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and go follow me on my social media. I will have all the information down below like I usually do. And that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.